Hey guys, welcome to my first video. I'm going to be going over question number 5, chapter 1 from the biology Kaplan book. I plan to do more of these questions in the future for any of you guys who are studying for the MCAT, and this also helps me study for the MCAT, so we're learning this together. But if you like the content, go ahead and maybe leave a like or subscribe because I'm planning on doing more of these in the future. So let's get into our first question. Mitochondrial DNA is 1. Circular, 2. Self-replicating, and 3. Single-stranded, or 3. Single-stranded. And then we're given a list of options to choose from. So before we answer this question, we have to understand where mitochondria even came from. And that can be explained through the endosymbiotic theory. And what that states is basically we had an anaerobic prokaryote, or sorry, aerobic prokaryote. This green one is aerobic. And we had an anaerobic prokaryote, which is right here. And what ended up happening was this anaerobic prokaryote engulfed the aerobic prokaryote. So I'm just going to draw this here real quick. And so now we have this aerobic prokaryote inside of an anaerobic prokaryote. And they existed as a symbiotic relationship. Now, the aerobic prokaryote, which is inside of the anaerobic prokaryote, was protected from the environment by the anaerobic prokaryote. It basically gave it a home. The anaerobic prokaryote benefited from the aerobic prokaryote because it was able to feed off of its energy. Aerobic prokaryote, or organisms that are aerobic or perform aerobic respiration, are much more efficient at generating energy in the form of ATP than anaerobic organisms. So that's why that relationship was symbiotic, and so that is why it's called the endosymbiotic theory. But what ended up happening over a very, 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 very long time is that what you see here all the way on the right, is what actually ended up becoming what is known today as the eukaryotic cell. And this aerobic prokaryote that you see inside of here became what is known today as mitochondria. So every single, or what we think, remember guys, this is just a theory, but we think that mitochondria came from what was once an aerobic prokaryote. So I'm just going to draw it in red here so it's a little easier to see, but this was once this. And so, if mitochondria came from this, an aerobic prokaryote, we would expect mitochondria to be very similar in structure to prokaryotic structure, including its DNA. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and start answering the question. Mitochondrial DNA is circular. This is true. The reason why this is true is because prokaryotic DNA is circular. So if prokaryotic DNA is circular, we would expect mitochondrial DNA to be circular as well, because that's where we think mitochondria came from. Remember, they're very similar in structure. So 1 is correct. 2, mitochondrial DNA is self-replicating. This is also true. Prokaryotic DNA is self-replicating. Before prokaryotes can divide via binary fission, they need to replicate their genome. And in order to do that, they need enzymes that replicate their DNA. And mitochondria act the same way. They also replicate independently, and they replicate via binary fission. And so mitochondrial DNA is self-replicating. So 2 is right. Mitochondrial DNA is single-stranded. This is false. And the reason why this is false is because prokaryotic DNA is double-stranded. Single, sorry, RNA is what is going to be single-stranded. But also in general, DNA is going to be double-stranded in living organisms. The only time you might see DNA being single-stranded is in a virus, which is not a living organism. And viruses have very variable genomes. They can have single-stranded, double-stranded RNA, single-stranded, double-stranded DNA. Their genomes are very diverse. But unless you see the question asking for uh, is DNA single-stranded, it's probably going to be false unless we're talking about a virus. So number 3 is wrong. So that leaves us with our answer choice being C. Alright guys, that's it for this video. Like I said, if you like the content, go ahead and leave a like and maybe even subscribe. Thank you.